The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get
He missed the pit completely. He's crazy
As I
stuff.
said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard.
Donington Park has been a venue not just for racing, but for rock concerts. And if it's difficult to tell today which one you're listening to, I assure you the noise is engines roaring and not guitars wailing. We step back in time once again to when cars, much like rock and roll, were loud, dangerous, and flashy. That's right, you're getting ready to watch round 9 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth today is Adam Young standing in for Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, the British love their sports car racing, so it seems these cars should fit right in at this track. Tell us a little bit about Donington.
Yeah, Joe, of course, we're going to be racing on the about 2.5 mile layout here for today. That's 4.02 kilometers. We're going around 12 turns here. Well, yeah, you can see 11 on your board, but it's actually, I guess, officially 12, something like that. You got that little kink there going into turn 9. And it's going to be a 30-minute race here for today. Of course, Donington opened in 1931. It closed for a few years, but actually ended up reopening in 1977. It's been open ever since. It's near the Castle Donington. So yeah, you see that little bridge. You'll see it a few times on the broadcast today, that little stonework bridge. There's an actual castle near there. Who knew that? So anyway, but these guys will be going around here pretty quick here today, Joe.
And to give us an idea of just how quickly they'll be getting around, let's hop on board the GSRC lap guide. All right, we've got Andrew Backey and the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Donington. Redgate is going to be an excellent passing opportunity, but always be aware of drivers exiting the pit since they're dumped right into the racing line. This first corner does best with a late apex, so try not to turn in too early. From there, the crater curves are going to need 2 big lifts to keep the best line through. That's because as you come through the last part, you'll want to hook the car as far left as it'll go. That'll set you up nicely for the old hairpin. This is another spot where passes might sometimes happen, but it can be tricky. Then, under Starkey's Bridge, you'll take this long climbing sweeper as a single arc, despite it being 2 apexes. Just like the old hairpin, McLean's does best when you line up the car off to the left, but the blind apex and tightening radius make it a pain to get right. After that, it's a short burst to coppice. The rise in the track makes it almost impossible to spot the apex before you turn in. But the sharp first half contrasts with the wide exit of the second half, which dumps you onto Starkey Straight. You'll finally get a moment to relax, but make sure to bring the car over to the right. The S's are going to be another popular overtaking spot, but this chicane is definitely single file, so sort it out before you try to plow through there and suffer a slowdown penalty. And since we're now approaching Melbourne, the slowdown will put you at a severe risk of being overtaken. Although some drivers enjoy this section, I've always considered this a frustrating hairpin. It's no different than most in that you want to square off the exit for a better launch. Switch sides again, and the final quarter will be Goddard's. There's an awkward crest in the middle of the entry to this hairpin that will make hitting the apex a bit of a task. Be sure to get a good run to protect yourself again into Redgate. Hopefully you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Donington. Andrew Backey taking us around Donington in the Audi 90 GTO. Now, this place tends to be a little bit difficult in most cars to try and get overtakes done, but Adam, where are you expecting the drivers to maybe have a go to try and get by today?
Well, one place is going to be Redgate, and Redgate, pulled my old track map here. I will be 100% honest with you. I'm still learning Donington a little bit. Redgate's turn 1. And of course, that's coming right off the front straightaway there, so you do have a little bit of speed that you're able to build up. And if you're able to get to the inside of somebody, that's going to be a good place to overtake. And it's a little bit wide, too. So that'll help, too, with the whole multi-class thing if you got an Audi that has to let one of the Nissans by. One other place that you'll be looking at possibly trying to make a move is going to be going into the old hairpin. The old hairpin will be a good place. It's a good sharp right-hander that you'll be able to make another pass if you need to. And that's gonna be a little bit more, I think, of like an actual in-class kind of passing zone. The S's are good. The Melbourne hairpin is good as well. The Melbourne hairpin, that's that last one right before turn 12. That one gets tight and narrow, but at the same time, one of those places you're able to get your nose in, you should be able to make a good pass.
Absolutely, and you mentioned the multi-class nature of this. I expect there's going to be a few twisty bits where it might be difficult, and my drivers might have to be patient today. We've seen these cars have a significant difference in lap times.
They really do, and you're not going to. It's not going to be too easy. I mean, especially for some of the slower Nissans to get around some of the faster Audis. But you're still looking at lap time differences of 5+ seconds in a lot of cases. So that's going to make some challenging areas like the Craner curves. Once you come out of turn 1, turn 2 ends up being kind of a really long right-hand bender there, and then you kind of go downhill and go through these curvy sections. It's not going to be a place that you're really going to want to make a move unless you can absolutely help it. And then, of course, McLean's is turn 7. It's really kind of uphill. It's almost kind of a blind right-hander. That's not going to exactly be an area where you're going to want to make a pass. That could be tough. And also going down into the S's, which is kind of it's that really almost kind of sharp left-right section that's very narrow. It's kind of a chicane that's put in to help slow the cars down when they come off Starkey Straight. So that's one of those areas where you just don't want to pass. And there's definitely going to be a couple of them, even if you have to lag behind and stay behind a slower Audi if you're in a Nissan.
And of course, the drivers will not be without their troubles in this 30-minute race. And with it being a shorter one, we have our pit reporter, Justin Prince, down in the pits. But what exactly is that going to mean for these drivers today, Justin, as far as the pit lane is concerned?
Yes, while you're not expected to usually make a pit stop during this race, a 30-minute race, of course, you could still have to go in depending on whether you have a mistake in terms of how much fuel you add to the car for the pre-race, or if you get into an accident. So one bad move strategy-wise could ruin the rest of your day. It's going to be very important that all these drivers coming in know what they're expecting and don't have to ask in the chat, for example, what the fuel mileage is for this race, as some may be right now. Basically, one bad strategy move, your race could be over.
Absolutely, and we'll keep tabs with you. We'll have to toss back to you if any driver does fall afoul as they continue qualifying out there today. We're looking at Marco Kika as he gets his Nissan around here. They do get 2 laps with this being official racing. And they're qualifying an official iRacing race that they've got only 2 laps to get their qualifying times in. Of course, if they have an off track or any sort of incident, Adam, that could put them under the gun.
Really could. I mean, you're not going to have a lot of time to be making up really anything here. So if you make one small mistake, you're going to be finding yourself, farther back in the field than what you want to be.
Speaking of the field, a little bit smaller field today than what we saw in the previous 2 rounds, it looks like. I think we have about 18 cars total out there. Looks like about 11 of them Nissans, and then 7 of them in the GTO Audi class. The Nissans, of course, are the GTP prototypes. There you can see Marco Van Vissa out there driving his Rothmans. And great example right there of what can go wrong. These turbocharged cars, just getting on the power a little bit too soon, can throw away your qualifying lap. That his Rothmans machine is, of course, not going to be able to count that lap for his qualifying. 30 seconds left to go. And going to put you a little bit under the spot, Adam. Who's looking good for you today? Who do you expect to be able to perform?
Well, Philip Lake, of course, at the top of your charts. That's a name that if you hang around the iRacing forums and everything else that you kind of recognize. Another one that's out there, it's kind of in mid-pack, though, as far as these Nissans. That'll be a good guy to keep your eye on, but it's one that a lot of guys know. It's John G. Hill. Great racer. He runs a couple of different classes, but he particularly likes some of these older cars. As far as the Audis, Cohen Klopman's at the top of the charts there. We know he's good. Andrew Back is going to be a one guy to keep an eye on too.
And qualifying has completed, so let's go through your grid on the pole with the Nissans. It's going to be Philip Lake starting us off for the GTP class. Rob Olenek will be on the outside of row 1 with Nicholas Mukanos starting in 3rd. Clayton McLeod will be starting in the 4th position, followed by Marco Kika in 5th. John Hill, who seems to have gotten the eye of Adam, will be starting in 6th, followed by Joseph Smith in 7th. Hideki Koivisto will start the race in 8th, followed by Michael Kopak in 9th. And then rounding out the top 10 is going to be Gilles LeBlanc. Adam?
Yeah, all right. So I'll grab the Audis here real quick. Cohen Klotman starting 11th on pole for the Audis. Ovi Trenger Reed starting on the outside of row 6. Andrew Bakke starting in 13th. Andres Solanas starting in 14th. Ben Lafter starting in 15th. Ryan Shanahan starting in 16th. 17th is Michael Stainer. And not being able to put down a time and starting last in the field in the Nissan will be Marco Van Wees.
Marco should start at the back of the GTP class, so he will not have to start behind the Audis. If he does grid, though, that's the question. I'm not seeing him out there yet. If he elects to start from the pit lane, he might be able to be released before the GTO class gets by. If not, he's going to have a hard time, and that's certainly going to be a headache on the first lap if he has to weave through those slower Audis, Adam.
Yeah, in these Audis, as far as qualifying times, I said 5+ seconds. Well, that's kind of the slower end of the field. The faster end of the field, the time difference is closer to 10 seconds on track. So it's going to be pretty much some rolling chicanes out there for a Nissan, and once they have to get by.
The roof pace car now takes off, starts them on their way. If you recognize any of these paint schemes, that's because they run a classic teams championship outside of the official championship on iRacing that this community organizes, and part of that is they have all kinds of classic paint schemes on the cars. You can see them most noticeably on a lot of the GTP class. A lot of beautiful looking cars out there. I always love seeing what kind of drivers show up with the different sort of paints that they customize onto these things. One more corner to go here on the half a pace lap that they do around Donington Park, and then we go racing for 30 minutes, here for round 9 of the iRacing Kamel GT Series. Coming up to Goddard's now. Pace car is going to peel off into the pit entrance, giving him a little bit of space, and then it's going to be Philip Lake having control, and he gets a great jump over Rob Olenek. In fact, Rob already under threat for that second place with Nicholas Mukanos looking to the inside, down into Redgate. Good on the brakes for Rob. Olenek gives him second place back. Let's go to the Audis.
Yeah, looking at the Audis here real quick, they just crossed the line. You got Cohen Klotman up in front, followed closely behind by Andrew Bakke. Actually, even closer behind, you'll find Ove back there along with Ben Lafter. So those guys were all able to get through their first couple corners cleanly.
Good to see a nice clean start. Already we've got the GTP class getting single file. Philip Blake starting to stretch away just about a second over Olenek at the moment. Mukanos giving chase, and in fact they're very closely knit behind them. Clayton McLeod and Marco Kika all the way down to 5th within about half a second of each other, and then you've got a huge gap back to Joseph Smith. So the top 5 starting to streak away as they head through the S's the first time and now into the slower GP portion of the circuit. The double hairpins of Melbourne accordioning together, and then on to Goddard's they go. A little bit of a pass towards the back of the pack. That's Michael Kopak going side by side with Marco Van Visa, who did manage to take the start. He overtakes him for that 10th position.
Yeah, very clean pass there from Marco. That kind of made me nervous there for a second. But going back to the Audis real quick, Cohen is still up in front. Andrew has not been able to separate himself from Ove yet. They are still running in second and third in class. Not only is Ove trying to see every way he can get around Andrew, you've got Ben Lafter back there that's putting quite a bit of pressure on Ove as well. So there could be, in fact, Ove swings a little bit wide there. Actually goes off into the grass and the dirt. Is that going to give Ben any room here at all to get by? We'll have to see. It looks like so far going through the S's here that Ove is going to be able to hang on and he's not going to get overtaken here just yet, but that's a battle that could heat up here at any time again.
Ben took a little bit of a look down into the old hairpin, but just hadn't anywhere to go, wasn't close enough, falls back in line.
Ooh, somebody right behind him is sliding.
Listen, looks like Andres Slisson's had a big moment coming up into McLean's. I don't know about you, Adam, but every car I've driven that corner, it is so difficult to line that up.
It really is, and a lot of it has to do with the uphill, off-camera nature of it. Apparently, we've got a big accident on track. Our director's trying to find it.
Joseph Smith, it looks like, potentially? Oh, as he almost tries to chop off. Oh, John Hill. Oh, and we've got more cars piling in.
Oh, no. You see one car get launched.
That's Gilles LeBlanc, who got run into by Hideki Koivisto. Let's see if we can get that on replay. On board Hideki. Oh, yeah, he absolutely could not see. I'm guessing he had a single monitor. And that was something that looked like it just, I guess maybe a slowdown for Joseph Smith is what kicked that off, maybe?
Well, even in the Melbourne hairpin right there, even if you got triple monitors, I mean, that's going to be hard to see all the way around like that and have enough time to react to that kind of accident. That's just a tough one coming around. Now, thankfully, I'm looking at Hideki's car here, and even considering the ride that he took, he ended up being able to escape with only a little bit of front end damage, at least it looks like. Now, that's not saying there's anything not wrong with the suspension or something like that, but he might be able to continue on just fine here.
Think they designed that like a scoop just for that reason there?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, whatever the case, those guys seem to have gotten lucky. If we see any of them head for the pits, we'll head over to Justin and see if we can get a report on what's going on with them. We're watching Gilles LeBlanc now in 9th position, trying to recover from that early incident. Almost a Keystone Cops-like moment between the drivers trying to work their way around the harrowing Melbourne hairpin. Nothing happening in them, so let's go back and see what's going on in the Audis. Koen Klopman still leading the way. In fact, he's starting to stretch away from Bakke. Has about a second and a half. And Bakke, however, looks like he's starting to hold off the threat of Ove, Adam.
Yeah, he is starting to be able to separate himself just a little bit right now. The difference between them is he's got it opened up to about a second now. So that's going to help him out a little bit right there as far as that separation that we were talking about. Now that's still not where he wants to be. But bigger story on that is the fact that we had Ove, who is actually having to hold off a really tough Ben Lafter there over the course of the first couple laps. Ben Lafter is now fallen back quite a bit, now down to about 2 seconds to Ove.
Lafter's number 10 machine, you can see, dropping back, as he mentioned. Not a threat. We do have a battle going on in 10th. And 9th for the GTP class. Hideki Koivisto had a go at Gilles LeBlanc, wasn't able to make it happen. He's under threat from Joseph Smith behind him. Another dive to the inside from Hideki. Can't make it happen. Just doesn't seem to be strong enough under the brakes. Leaves a little bit of the apex to Joseph Smith, who overcooks it.
You saw right there those turbos, especially when you get them down in the first gear and you go to get back on the gas. It is really tough. You got to treat that gas pedal like an eggshell. And you saw Gilles LeBlanc almost loop the car. Oh, he gets turned. Gilles LeBlanc just got turned by Hideki.
It looks like at the last moment, there was just a bit of a miscommunication as Gilles tries to hug to the inside, had a little bit of room there and just covers it off at the last second. You can see, unfortunately, Hideki went for the hole that disappeared, and I think that might end the day of Gilles LeBlanc. Looks like he's still out on track. He hasn't towed yet. Unusual for the Canadian to not try and exit out. Now there he's gone in. So it looks like after 2 significant hits, Justin, what's the damage that you can see on that car now that it's gone into the pits?
It is very significant damage, Joe. A lot of damage to that back end. His day may be done, in fact, it looks, from the amount of damage. That back end, left rear especially, looks ripped off. He is not happy overall with the situation, as his day is basically toast.
Well, it looks like Gilles is relatively unhappy, judging by the chat going on in Sim. So it looks like he might be filing a bit of a protest. We'll have to maybe talk to him post-race to see his feelings on that incident. We've looked up at Nicholas Mukanos running in third position. He's got about 5 seconds up to second place. Rob Olenek seems to be a significant gap between drivers very early on in this race, only 8 minutes in. And the pace differential is pretty big, Adam.
It is. It's actually quite large right now. You know, it's like you've got your front two out there that are kind of Philip Lake and Rob Olenek. They're kind of keeping an eye on each other here, but behind him, you got to go back almost 4.2 seconds back to Nicholas Mukanos, and Clayton McLeod's even further back than that. I mean, he's almost 8.5 seconds back now. So the front half of the GTP field right now definitely starting to separate itself out, and even starting to see a little bit of separation going on back in the Audis as well. Cohen Klotman is still up there by quite a bit, as he's now extended his lead over Andrew Bakke up to about 2 seconds, but now Andrew now has to fight off Ove again, as Ove has been able to catch back up now right underneath his rear wing as they start heading down into that turn 9, that little chicane right there, and start heading toward the Melbourne hairpin.
We ride on the dash of Ove, the third place Audi, trying to close up on the back of Andrew. Can't quite find an opportunity right now, but let's stay on this. It sounds like we got some information from Justin on Gilles LeBlanc.
Yes, it appears he is going to try and get back out on that track, as it appears he is staying in the pit lane to try and get as much damage fixed. On top of that, back end, the front end still having a lot of damage. It's going to take some time, though, if he's going to have any chance of returning in this one. Joe?
So we'll keep an eye on Gilles to see if he returns back out there. It's good to see a driver continue on if he does decide to return to the track. Meanwhile, this battle continues on screen. Ove dropping just a little bit. Sounds like Ben Lafter might have gotten a slowdown penalty. What has happened there? It looks like maybe he cut a little too sharp on Redgate, potentially. He's got Andrew Sleesons in front of him now, and Andrew's made the pass. And right as that happens, you can see they've got some traffic running through them, and that is our leaders in the GTP class. Rob Olenek giving chase on Philip Lake. He is within a second of our leader.
Yeah, Rob Olenek there, he was able to really catch up on that on your leader Philip Lake there, going through that traffic. In fact, Philip Lake had it was a pretty close call with Andrus when they were trying to pass him. So they were it was probably almost a little bit more of a heart attack moment for Philip Lake there, but he was able to get by cleanly. Philip did pick up a little bit of front end damage from somewhere, though. At some point, might have been a curb, because Rob Olenek has pretty much the same amount of front end damage as well there, right on the right front. So curbs maybe doing a little bit of damage to the front ends of these GTPs here today.
And just to complicate things, as we ride on board with our leader, Philip Lake, they are now coming up on Ove Trangarade and Andrew Bakke, still battling for that second place in the GTO class. Here they come, sliding up the inside of the hairpin. Nice move by Philip Lake. Woo! It amazes me, the closing rate. I don't know how these drivers manage this psychologically, Adam.
It's tough when you got that closing rates of that kind. I've been in that boat before on both the fast and the slower type of vehicles, and you've really got to manage it. The big thing, though, is just be predictable. Just be predictable, and usually everybody's going to get by okay. But you saw there the speed difference between the Audis. In fact, Olenek has already caught up and passed your leader, Cohen Klotman, your Audi leader, that is. But it did help to separate up that battle between Bakke and Ove here for just a little bit, but already you're starting to see Ove be able to pull back on him, but he's going to have to worry about another GTP car here before too long.
Oh, it sounds like things have gone from bad to worse for Gilles LeBlanc. What happened, Justin?
Yes, Gilles LeBlanc having a nightmare of a day. He has officially...
I'm sorry to interrupt you. It sounds like we got a pass for the lead. Rob Olenek has managed to overtake Philip Lake. They're side by side down into Redgate. Philip looking to the inside. Rob manages to hold him off, but the chase is on as Rob has pressured him enough that he's managed to get by. Sorry there, Justin. Let's back to the information you were telling us.
Yes, I understand that's definitely good information if you're switching with the leader, but as for LeBlanc, he is officially dropped out from connection overall, so this is not a good day overall for the 13 car.
Good information that it may have been a slowdown, could have been through the chicane that Philip Blake had to ease up off the gas, and that was what allowed Rob Olenek to sneak by. So can Philip Blake maybe get back past at some point? I wouldn't be surprised if we see another driver get a slowdown in that chicane, Adam.
No, and that's going to be one of those fairly common ones. You've got to hit the exact line just perfect through there to not get a slowdown. It is a very, very tight chicane, and a lot of people have trouble through there. And it wouldn't be surprising at all to see a few more slowdowns. Just got to be careful. Just hit your marks, and we'll see.
Let's go to Andrew Backey. I'm sorry to cut you off, but Backey just had contact with Marco Kika, who was trying to sneak inside him at the Melbourne hairpin. Just a side-by-side glancing blow. I think they managed to get away with it. Let's look at the replay. Our director described it as a love tap. I'm sure Andrew's not thinking that way, Adam.
No. The good news is I don't see other than a few scrape marks as far as damage on Andrew's car, so he got away from that okay. It's just one of those times that not only does the car being passed have to be predictable, the car passing has to be predictable.
And Sleeson's just lost a position to Ben Lafter coming through Redgate. Oh, and we saw on screen Van Visa had a problem as well. So everything kicking off there. You can see that's our battle in the GTO class. That is for fourth place in those cars. Managed to hold him off. Now, let me go back and look and see what happened to Marco Van Visa. Looks like from what I can see, we don't have the replay up, but Adam, it's what you mentioned before, that turbo biting yet another Nissan driver.
Yeah, it's really tough in first gear, and even if you have to get into second gear while you've got the RPMs up really high and that turbo's kicking in, that's almost a recipe for end up turning that car around. These Nissans are light in the back end. They are rocket ships when they go in a straight line, but first and second gear can be a handful when you're trying to accelerate out of a corner.
We've already seen that exemplified a number of times in this race. We're halfway through now, 15 minutes in. Let's give you the rundown of the top 5 for each class. Rob Olenek is leading. He's overtaken Philip Blake in recent times, but he hasn't dropped him by too much. Still about a 2-second gap between himself and Lake. In third place, you've got a little bit more of a gap, about 7 seconds, down to Nick McConos. Then you go back to fourth, and Clayton McLeod not able to hold on to these guys by any stretch of the imagination. 8 seconds back for him. And Marco Kika rounds out our top 5. He's giving close chase to Clayton McLeod, just about a second back. What about the Audis, Adam?
Yeah, Colin Klotman still up in front of your Audis. He has been up front all day long. Look for him to stay there as long as he doesn't run into any problems. Going back, though, it is not the case for Andrew Bakke back here in second place in your Audis. He has been having to fight to maintain second place over Ove, and Ove as Trangerade has been just on his tail looking for any possible advantage to be able to try to get around him. Just hasn't been able to complete the move yet. So your second and third battle in your Audis is definitely heated up. And going back, we do have another battle that we have to talk about. Ben Lafter and Andrus Silzans. That Andrus has been fighting back there behind Ben Lafter, trying to find every little gap that he can, but Ben Lafter's been able to hang on. Where Andrus is kind of having a little bit of problem right now is he's in the search to try to find a way around Ben Lafter. He's kind of had some four-wheel drifts coming off the corners. You can see right there, he kind of gets off the grass a little bit and takes a little bit of a trip. And I think as our buddy Soups On, who I swear is listening to us right now, he always talks about cutting the alfalfa, and I think Andrus just did a little bit of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe forgot for a moment that it's not the Audi Quattro rally car. This is the GT car, and he needs to keep it on the black stuff, but he managed to get it back there eventually and continue on. Meanwhile, our lead, our GTP cars, is very much under threat. Philip Blake at one point was down to 0.2 of a second. It's back up to half a second. Rob Olenek been fighting traffic, not just the GTO cars, but lapping GTP cars as well around this relatively short circuit. And could be any moment that Philip could get an opportunity. He has to be patient and has to stay close.
Yeah, at this point of the race, you're just hoping that the guy in front of you is going to make some sort of mistake that you can be able to get around him. It's 10 minutes here, well, 9 minutes, 30 seconds, about 10 minutes, close to 10 minutes, 12 minutes on the board. Looking at the wrong clock, my apologies. These guys, it's coming down to crunch time, and it's going to be down to crunch time here really quick, faster than what I think a lot of these guys realize. So you really got to hope for a mistake from your competitor.
And there we see an opportunity right there as Joseph Smith was in front of our leaders in the chicane. Just horrible timing. Protecting the inside. Rob Olenek tries to hold them off. Smith goes to the outside, lets our leaders through, looking for a good corner exit. Philip Blake gets to the power, doesn't have the grip, and he drops back. And just like you were talking about, the moments can come if he can stay close. Wasn't able to capitalize that time, but with still 11.5 minutes on the clock, he'll have opportunities as they come down to Redgate. Still within about half a second of our GTP leader, Philip Blake, putting the pressure on now. Keeping half an eye on this and half an eye on the battle for second in the GTOs as Backey's still being threatened by Ove Trangarade, who holds him very much accountable as they head towards the double hairpins. Oh, great exit. Beautiful exit by Ove coming off of Melbourne. Obviously, Andrew feeling threatened as he stays defensive to the inside, but he can't get to the apex. Can he get the corner exit? He's going to have the inside down into Redgate. It's a drag race to the first corner. A little bit of momentum on the side of Andrew Backey as he closes up to the nose of Ove. Ove a little bit better on the brakes, still side by side around that first corner. Ove trying to carry the momentum around the outside. Doesn't quite get it. The four wheels finding grip on Andrew Backey, and he still manages to fend him off for that second place.
You got to wonder, what does Ove have to do to try to get around Andrew at this point? I mean, that was the best chance that he's had so far this race, and they've been running like this most of the race. So is Andrew going to have to make another mistake here? Is Ove just going to be able to drive around him? He takes a kind of a little bit of a, I guess, reconnaissance peek is what I'd call it. Never really intended to make any kind of move there, but he is still definitely trying to fill up as much of Andrew's mirror as he possibly can at this point.
Yeah, it looked like a bad corner exit from McLean's from Andrew Backey. Ooh, slides it in to the chicane, though. He is really pushing that car. Once again, I'm not sure if Ove is going to have an opportunity as they come down to Melbourne. This is where he got his chance last time off of this corner. Can he do it once again? A little bit smoother on the power from Andrew. And they're going to be dead even coming up to this final corner.
And we'll stay here. This is the battle on the racetrack right now, but we were following the overall leaders in the GTP category a few minutes ago. That gap has widened up, back up just a little bit now, about to a second. So we'll stay here on this tight battle here for second and third in the Audis.
Once again, Andrew proving very difficult to overtake now that he's figured out how to get these corner exits down, looking like a brick wall on Ove Trangarade, who has been trying and trying. As we ride on board with Andrew, looking back at the purple machine, the number 2 of Ove, heading under Starkey's Bridge up the hill to McLean's. Since this is separated, let's go over to P4 in the GTP class. Clayton McLeod still holding off Marco Kika. This one has been going on almost the entire race. See, stretching away just a little bit. McLeod finding his legs now as they head to the old hairpin as we just ride over the shoulder of Marco. I always love these shots, Adam, when we're inside the cockpit and we can see the hands working inside the car.
Yeah, and especially on these Nissans when they come off corner exit, especially the slower corners, like for instance the Melbourne hairpin or something, where you have to see them how they have to work the steering wheel while trying to get the power down.
Oh, and Lake has managed to get past Rob. I'm going to try and find where this happened. Looks like it was quite a few corners ago. Wonder if this was facilitated by some traffic. And it looks like it was. It was about roughly a lap ago where there was an off from Rob Olenek in the old hairpin. He was trying to get around traffic, went the long way around, and that just set him up. Oh, wow, this was actually a pretty thrilling one. You're going to see here, down through crater curves, there's Sleesons. He tries to go around the outside. That's Rob Olenek. There, goes off into the grass, splits both of them. Phillip with a brave move. Let's go on board, Adam, and watch how that happened.
Yeah, this would be a case for to watch the hands if we end up. Yeah, so watch the hands in this one.
That was some supreme trust, both that Rob would not come farther onto the track and that Sleesons had left him enough room in the middle. That is what I would call a calculated risk.
Yeah, now your GTP leaders are having to work their way through that second and third battle in your Audis. So leader in the GTP, second and third in the Audis, right there, all on your screen.
Could have an opportunity for either one of these classes as they sneak by. Phillip Lake defending the inside, not letting Rob have anything in there. Meanwhile, Andrew Backey, second place in the Audis, still managing to fend off Ove Trangarade. They've separated, they go on their ways, and the game continues. Boy, Ove is just slathering on the pressure. I am impressed with this drive by Andrew, though.
Very, very solid performance from him here for today. You know, he's made a few mistakes, but you know, whenever you make mistakes, sometimes it's not about making the mistakes; it's about how you recover from them. He's been able to recover from them just fantastically. They're going to have to worry about a few GTPs here. In fact, that got a little tight back there with Ove.
That was a pass for position too.
Yeah, so that was 6th and 7th there, and your GTPs fighting for position.
Hideki Koivisto gets moved down to 8th, and that's Michael Kopak with a nice opportunistic move up into 7th now.
But that really separated Ove and Andrew there for that second, third Audi battle. Now, we've seen them separated before, and it took a couple laps for them to come back together, but they don't have a couple laps this time until that happened, and now Ove is right back up on the rear wing of Andrew. One more GTP to get through. That's going to be your third place GTP, Nicholas Mukanos behind him.
And that was Hideki Koivisto sliding to the inside of the chicane that allowed Ove to catch up to Andrew. Let's see what happens with the machine of Mukanos. Should be able to get by on this front straight with the power that these guys have. Or will he? He might split them once again. Mukanos slides up the inside and gets in between, waits patiently. Sneaks around the inside of that Audi. Unfortunately, those Audis have to lift down through the crane of curves, so that cost Andrew some time.
Yeah, even with the four-wheel drive of these Audis, you really sometimes four wheels isn't enough to full throttle it through there.
And these are machineries from the late 80s as well, Adam. So I think sometimes we get spoiled by the grip, the mechanical grip that a lot of modern cars have compared to some of these older machines.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like working on you take an old car where you don't have hardly any electronics at all. You have the engine bay completely open. You can get to everything, but everything on the car is mechanical. Nowadays, the cars, of course, have so much in the way of computers and everything else that two completely generations of beasts from what we normally see to what you've seen on track right now with these GTPs and these old Audi Quattros.
This is, of course, the Audi 90 GTO that they're driving out there. The Quattro is the rally car. Here we go, another attempt from Ove Trangarade, crying around the outside of Goddard's. I don't think that one is going to work, and once again, Backey is able to fend him off, but we're running out of laps now with only 3 minutes left on the clock.
At the rate they're going, they might get 2 laps more in here. We'll have to see, but Ove's running out of time, and they got more GTPs here to worry about. Is the 4 car there had to go through the gas. It was Marco Kika that had to go through the grass to get around Andrew Bakke there.
Yeah, these GTPs have been having a hell of a day working through traffic. Also, I need to correct my correction. It is the Audi 90 Quattro, so Adam was right on that. My apologies.
It's okay, I'm used to being right.
As we watch our leader, Koen Klopman, who very much is used to being right today, has been leading the way. Now we see Koen on screen with no threat pretty much the entire race. I just now noticed he's got Apple computers on that machine. That is a throwback there. I love that paint scheme.
Ben
Marco Van
Laughter is
Visa.
getting on a radio about somebody there, and it looked like it might have been, yeah, you just said it, Marco there is trying to get around him, and I think Ben was... Go ahead.
No, I think this doesn't look like he touched anyone. He was all by himself in the chicane. You can see maybe took a little bit too much curb and found the wall.
Yeah, I think it ended up being that he came, Marco was looking to make the pass there. I think he wasn't expecting Ben to cut back down, and I think there wasn't ever actually any contact between the two, but what I think it was that Ben Laughter, who took a good hit there, ended up, in correction of Marco being there, ended up putting himself in the wall.
All right, it is do or die time. White flag, this time for Philip Lake, who still leads Rob Olenek by a scant 0.8 of a second. They come across the line. Opportunities are dwindling away. Rob has managed it before, but can he manage it again? They have no traffic ahead of them. Ben Laughter is well up the way, and I'm not sure they're going to catch him before this is over. They head down through the Craner curves. All Philip Lake has to do is hit his marks. Through the old hairpin, nice and clean. Under Starkey's Bridge, now up to McLean's. The difficult braking for this blind right-hander, tightening at the exit of the corner. Up to another blind one with Coppice. Difficult to get the car to turn in through here. Both of them looking incredibly clean and smooth. On to the backstretch. Starkey straight now. Only a few more corners to go. They are not going to catch Ben Laughter. It is now up to Rob Olenek to send something up the inside somewhere. He's going to have to be brave on the brakes. He's half a second back. He's closed it up by 0.3 throughout this lap. Can Philip hold him off for just one more corner? Has to get the power down smoothly out of Melbourne. He does it. Rob Olenek's now within 0.4 of a second. He is closing up to Goddard's. Closes under braking, tries to send it in, can't get anything off of the corner. It's going to be Philip Lake for the win here at Donington. Meanwhile, Koen Klopman has less than half a lap to go.
Finish with Klopman, and we'll talk about the OV and Andrew battle.
Just 2 more corners for Koen as he comes up to Melbourne. He's been unchallenged this entire race. He's led every lap. He started it on the pole as he comes around Melbourne. This car with a little bit easier time of the turbo. 4 wheels all gripping as you come off of these slower corners. A little bit of a wobble coming into the final turn, but it doesn't matter because with an 11... Oh no, and he almost spins it. He gets it going again, but I was about to say with an 11-second lead, he can manage it. And Koen Klopman comes across the line with a little bit of embarrassment, but still manages to win today.
Well, and while that happened back there, Ove was able to get around Andrew Bakke for P2 finally. Bakke actually overdrove turn 7 and went into the grass on that uphill right-hander. And ended up, that's when that position changed hands. Finally, after all race of fighting for it, it took that one mistake on the last lap from Andrew Bakke, and then that was the break that Ove needed to be able to get around him.
And racing to perform, you have to be perfect. And Andrew, after all that pressure, finally withered into a mistake. There you can see on screen Ove plucking it up with probably a huge grin on his face, and with that, he takes second and Andre in third. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this with the post-race interviews as well as unofficial results, and on screen, we'll have all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Don't go away.
And after a short 30-minute race with a couple of great battles coming right down to the end, your finishing order looks like this. Coming out in front in the GTP class, you got Philip Lake. Only about 0.6 of a second behind him is Rob Olnek. Nicholas McConis coming home in third. Fourth place is going to be Clayton McLeod. Fifth place, Marco Kika. Sixth place, John Hill. And then the first car lap down, you'll find Michael Kopak, and then Hideki Kavisto and Joseph Smith. Some of those back runners there in the GTP class, Hideki and Joseph did run into a little bit of trouble to end up back there one lap down. Your winner in your Audis ended up being Cohen Klopman coming home in 10th position. He was followed by Ove Trengreed, Andrew Bakke coming home in third in your Audis. Fourth, Andrus. Fifth, Ben Lafter. You saw running into a little bit of trouble right there at the end. Brian Shanahan coming home 15th overall, sixth in the Audis. And Marco Van Wees saw him run into a little bit of trouble. Michael Steiner, Gilles LeBlanc, and that will round out your field. I do believe that we're going to go ahead and catch up with the winner of the GTP category here real quick, Philip Lake, and we'll get him down here and talking to us here in just a moment. We'll get him here. Hold on one second. All right. So, hey, Philip, congratulations on the win here for today. Definitely had to fight hard there with Rob Olnek. Tell us about pretty much about the last half of that race, the fight that you had to put up.
Hi guys. I was just trying to hang with him and hoping that something would happen with the traffic that would give me an opportunity, which is what happened.
Well, you definitely had one of the quicker cars on the track today to be able to hang with him. He was definitely pretty fast himself. You know, as far as these cars go at Donington, with what ended up being the greatest challenge for you at a track like Donington to try to get through the field here today?
Passing the slower cars is quite difficult here, but the biggest challenge is the chicane and the two hairpins. Just trying to get the power down in the Nissan is really difficult.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, hey, congratulations on the win. Anybody you'd like to thank here real quick?
Just thank you guys. See you next week.
All right. Well, hey, thanks, Phil. Appreciate you guys, too. Hey, now I believe we're going to go ahead and we're going to get Justin to go ahead and talk to your actual third-place winner here. Third-place finisher in your Audis. Justin, I hear you caught up with Andrew.
Yes, we have Andrew Bakke here with us right now after finishing third. So, Andrew, of course, you were in a tight battle for most of the race with Ove Treningard right there. Take us through your thoughts on those last couple of laps until the finish.
Yeah, I mean, he was right on my tail, keeping me honest the whole race. I was pulling out every trick in the book for keeping somebody behind you. You know, basically, you know, park it on the slow apexes and power out to gain that gap. Unfortunately, it was the hairpins that I think he was faster than me, so he was never able to capitalize. And I think I just got a little overexcited and thinking, oh man, I'm going to bring home the second, and ran wide, and that was all the invitation he needed. It was a great race though.
Definitely a great race with definitely close action. So what do you hope to do for next week, of course, as we continue on, as this was definitely a good finish for you, that's for sure.
I've been trying out a couple new things in the setup. I'm feeling pretty happy, so who knows, maybe next week I'll get one more step up the podium.
All right, good luck to you, and do you have anyone else you want to thank before we head out here?
Just thanks again to everybody running the VCR series. It's great to see these classic paint schemes running and beating and banging.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, Andrew, for your time. We'll see how you do next week at Sebring International Raceway. Adam?
Yeah, of course, that was your third-place finisher in your Audis, Andrew Bakke there. Now, normally we'd like to get to a few more guys, but we actually ended up having to handle some things, so we're a little bit pressed for time here for today. So apologies to everybody waiting up in the ready for interview room. We'll maybe try to sneak in a few more next week to get to talking to some of you guys. But we definitely want to take a moment to thank the Kamel GT community. Tell you what, if you guys have never tried out for one of these races, driven some of these cars, they are fantastic cars to drive. Trust me, give them a chance here on iRacing. Also, your second place finisher in your GTP is also a big leader in the community here and helping us get on air, Rob Olenek. So big thanks to him. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed there on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Echolm and Casey Lalonde, who provide the music for our broadcast. Their contacts can be found listed on the screen as well. Thanks to the team today, Joe, Amjad, Justin, welcome to the group here. And if you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can check it out at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media out on Twitter at GSRC Channel or Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Now, the next time you are going to see these Kamel GT class cars here is, of course, going to be next Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We are going to go to Sebring. That's right, we're hopping across the pond down to Florida, and we're going to go ahead and go around one of the more classic racetracks in the world. We also have some upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.